Conventionally, they don't exist ultimately. Ultimately, there's no sentient being. Conventionally, sentient beings are there. So conventionally, sentient beings can be liberated, can be taken to beyond sorrow. But ultimately, sentient beings cannot be taken to beyond sorrow. You getting it? Okay, with this, let's read page 5. Page 5 stands at the line, first paragraph, line 5. The realm of sentient beings, as many as are destined by imputation of sentient beings. All those I shall cause to pass completely beyond sorrow into the realm of nirvana without remainder of the aggregates. Okay. Although limitless sentient beings have thus been caused to pass completely beyond sorrow. Okay. Sentient beings, many of the sentient beings, they already achieved nirvana or not? Sentient beings, there are many sentient beings. They are already liberated by the Buddha to the state of nirvana? Yes, of course. Buddha liberated them. There are so many of the Shariputra, Mukalyana, all of them are liberated. Okay, this is the meaning. So this liberation happens where? Ultimately or in the conventionally? Conventionally. So the first part is conventional. Conventionally, although you can add conventionally in the bracket. Although conventionally, limitless sentient beings have thus been caused to pass completely beyond sorrow, then no sentient beings whosoever has been caused to pass completely beyond sorrow ultimately. Okay, or in other words, beyond sorrow, then ultimately in bracket, you can add this. Ultimately, no sentient being whatsoever has been caused to pass completely beyond sorrow. You getting it? Okay. Now, can sentient beings be taken away from samsara? Yes. Ultimately, conventionally. Ultimately, no. If you think ultimately yes, sentient being can never be taken away from samsara. If you think that ultimately sentient beings can be liberated, which means that you cannot liberate sentient beings, because seeing that sentient beings can be ultimately taken away from samsara means that is ignorance. As long as you have the ignorance, you will never be liberated. So, ultimately, sentient beings are not liberated. Conventionally, sentient beings can be liberated. You're getting it? As long as you believe that sentient beings can be ultimately liberated to nirvana, that belief is ignorance or wisdom. Ignorance. Ignorance is a mark of samsara. So the fact that you are saying that ultimately sentient beings are liberated, ultimately sentient beings are liberated. When you say this is ignorance. As long as there is ignorance, this is samsara. So you are not liberated from samsara. Okay. Okay, next paragraph, second paragraph. Why is that, Subhuti? Because if a bodhisattva engages in discriminating a sentient being, he is not to be called a bodhisattva. Okay, now if you understand this passage well, then all the remaining, paradoxical sentences will be resolved. Okay. Why is that, Subhuti? Because if a bodhisattva engages in discriminating a sentient being, he is not to be called a bodhisattva. Bodhisattva, what do you mean by bodhisattva? Somebody who is sattva, who is courageous to aspire to achieve Buddhahood. How to achieve Buddhahood? Hey, how to achieve Buddhahood? Tell me. It has so many answers. Just speak your mind, whatever you've learned. How to achieve Buddhahood? Yes, Thomas?
By striving to liberate everyone in the...
That is the motivation, right?
Yeah,
motivation. Now you already have the motivation.
Listen.
Listen. Okay. Say, the motivation you already have, then the question is, okay, I will strive to achieve Buddha for the benefit of sentient beings. But what kind of methodology, what approach?
Emptiness of wisdom and bodhicitta, by the union of wisdom and compassion.
Okay, by practicing wisdom and emptiness, by practicing the bodhicitta. Anybody else? It has so many answers. Huh? By practicing 5 parts. Any other answers?
6 perfections.
By practicing 6 perfections. Okay, can you think of a yes? By practicing Lamrim. Okay. Can you sound okay? Those of you, can you speak something from the what, positive, negative, So that's why it's so positive. Huh? Can you speak from the negative side? Not negative, not in the unwholesome form.
By striving to remove afflictions.
Exactly. By striving to remove the, say, the bodhicitta to remove the self-centered attitude, wisdom emptiness remove the self-grasping ignorance, and the subtle stains removal, right? Okay, good. So this is how we become Buddha. Now, if this is how you become Buddha, what will help you to remove the mental stains from the root? Alex?
Wisdom of emptiness.
By the wisdom of emptiness. What is the wisdom of emptiness? What do you understand by wisdom of emptiness? Quick, just speak your mind. When I say speak your mind, right, then it becomes easy for you. Even if something goes wrong, I'll be very lenient. Yes, Zarina? Nothing exists subjectively. Okay, nothing exists objectively. Okay, now, let us not forget what Zarina said. Finally, we have to meditate on the wisdom which realizes that nothing exists objectively. This is what we should meditate. If you don't meditate on this, your mental stains cannot be removed. If your mental stains are not removed, you cannot become Buddha. You're getting it? So in order for one to remove Buddha, you have to realize that nothing exists objectively. You're getting it? If you view that, oh, everything exists objectively, oh, sentient beings can be liberated ultimately, right? Objectively, the sentient beings can be liberated from samsara. As long as you stay there, you cannot follow the path. You cannot traverse the path towards gade, parasama. Doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. If it doesn't happen, the whole purpose of you, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient bodhisattva. Bodhisattva means, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. May I traverse the path. The path is not traversed. The path is not followed. So you are not a bodhisattva. Bodhisattva means some following the path. You are not following the path. So if a bodhisattva believes that things are objectively real, you are not a bodhisattva. You are getting it? Okay. Now you may get confusion. I need to make a clarification here. Before I make the clarification here, any questions pertaining to what we have said thus far? It seems that Zarina has a burning question. I can see that. Her body language. Huh?
Question is about the bodhisattva.
Yes.
What kind of bodhisattva is it?
What kind of bodhisattva? Human being?
Because this bodhisattva has not only the aspiration to Buddhahood but also sees emptiness directly.
Yes, so?
So is it the bodhisattva of the eighth boon that is being discussed here?
No, we are not talking about the bodhisattva who sees emptiness directly. Where is it? Where did he say? Seeing emptiness directly. Where is it? It only said that if you see that, then he or she is not bodhisattva. This is what it said. This is what the Buddha said. Right? Why is that, Subhuti? Because if a bodhisattva engages in discriminating a sentient being, he is not to be called a bodhisattva. Huh?
Does that mean that this bodhisattva sees emptiness?
No. Okay, so in other words, what is said here is that if you see things as objective real, if you don't see things empty of objective reality, then from how the literal reading is that, then in which case you are no bodhisattva. Okay, doesn't mean that bodhisattvas should see emptiness. It doesn't mean that all bodhisattvas should necessarily see emptiness. If you don't see emptiness, you are not a bodhisattva. Is this the basic, the criteria, this question? Answer is no. Okay, so what is the criteria for a bodhisattva? Bodhisattva is, of course, somebody, the baseline and the top ceiling. Baseline is that you should have generated bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, the wish, a very spontaneous desire to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. This wish must be there. Then the top ceiling. The top ceiling means the last point of you being a bodhisattva. Last point. beyond which you are Buddha. So that is before the point, immediately before you become a Buddha. Okay, the time you begin as a Bodhisattva, when you have a very spontaneous desire to become Buddha, when you have a spontaneous desire to become Buddha, till the point you become a Buddha. So this phase in between is known as your Bodhisattva path, or you become Bodhisattva. Now, but the Buddha said that this is, he is not to be called, he or she is not to be called as a Bodhisattva if one sees things as objectively real. So this is that Bodhisattva is not to remain as a Bodhisattva all the time. Bodhisattva is to traverse the path. Without traversing the path, then you are not, for example, sometimes what we call is that, okay, somebody who is so mischievous, who is so nasty, you are not even a human being. Right? Okay, somebody who is so nasty, who killed like millions of people, we call he is not even a human being. Is he a human being or not? Yeah, of course human being. You're getting it? Then why do we say that he's not even a human being? Why do we say that? Is the human being means definition wise he's a human being. But as a human being you should prove yourself. As a human being, you have the potential for compassion. So you should be doing something sensible. At least not harm others. Right? This is, if you are not even doing that, instead of harming all others, you are not a human being. Human being is not to destroy the human beings. And you are destroying the human beings. Okay, so therefore, it is not to tell that technically you are not a human being. This is not the point. The point is that you as a human being, you are not serving the purpose as a human being. You're getting it? Likewise, he or she is not to be called as a Bodhisattva, means he or she is not following the purpose of following the Bodhisattva path. This meaning. Not following the purpose. What is the purpose of Bodhisattva path? But as a Bodhisattva is to follow the path, to progress all the time. How to progress? Gade, para samgade, bodhisattva. In what way the gade happens? In what way? In what way? With the wisdom of emptiness. With the drive of bodhicitta, then the wisdom of emptiness should keep improving from the conceptual experience of emptiness to the non-dual or the direct experience of emptiness, and even that direct experience of emptiness should be more and more refined. This is how we have to improve the wisdom of emptiness all the time. So wisdom of emptiness has not been cultivated. You see things as objectively real, and you believe that things are objectively real, then the whole purpose of the Bodhisattva path is defeated. So therefore such a person is not to be called as a Bodhisattva. This is what the Buddha is saying. Okay. Let me explain this once more, and then we will switch to another 2 or 3 points which are little paradoxical. Okay. Okay. Second paragraph, page 5. Why is that, Subodhi? Because if a Bodhisattva engages in discriminating on sentient being, discriminating on sentient being doesn't mean that of gender discrimination, racial discrimination. This is not a connotation. Discriminate here meaning apprehending a sentient being as objectively real. Apprehending a sentient being as objectively real. Apprehending a sentient being as objectively real. He or she is not to be called a Bodhisattva. Why is that, Subodhi? If anyone engages in discriminating a sentient being, or if anyone engages in apprehending objectively existing sentient being, or engages in discriminating a living being, or engages in discriminating a person, or engaging in apprehending objectively existing person, they are not to be called a Bodhisattva. Because if you apprehend believing that everything exists objectively, the person exists objectively, sentient beings exist objectively, then this will never help you to remove your mental dirt. If the mental dirt is not removed, you are not at all you are not going closer to the Buddha. If you don't go closer to the Buddha, then you are not a courageous one to achieve Buddhahood. Okay, this meaning. Okay. So therefore the emphasis laid is that once you get a little clue of emptiness, even if you did not really clue of emptiness, didn't get a clue of emptiness, but if you studied emptiness, it is advised that you have to, not you, all of us, including me, we all we all to view. Whenever we engage in any activities, try best that the activities involve three things: the agent of the activity, then the object of the activity, and the activity itself. For example, giving, activity of the giving, act of giving. Act of giving, the agent of giving is what? The giver or the benefactor. And the object of the giving is, object there are two, the beneficiary or the item to be given. Item to be given is also the object, and the beneficiary also referred to as the object of the act of giving. And the act of giving is what connects the two. So these three things are there: agent, object, and the action. These three things. These three things are oftentimes. So this can be seen in all actions, any action that you do. For example, meditation. The meditator, then the object of meditation, what you meditated upon, and then act of meditating. 3. Anger. The person who showed the anger, and to whom your anger is shown, and the act of anger. 3. Any action. Okay, morning practice. The practitioner, what is practice, and the act of practicing. 3 things. These 3 things are referred to as the 3 spheres. 3 spheres. So oftentimes the Buddha Shakyamuni and also Nagarjuna always advised us to see that all these 3 are like illusions. All these 3 are like illusions, and these 3 are in the empty of objective existence. Nothing really exists. All these 3 do not exist objective. For example, okay, when you are giving some charity to a person, okay, I as the person who is giving charity is empty, it's like an illusion. The person who is receiving the gift is also like illusion. And then this act of giving is also like illusion, nothing really exists from the object. And if possible, bring to light how I, where is this I? This I is just nothing other than the 5 aggregates, nothing other than the 6 elements. And none of the 6 elements is me. And then where is the self then? Not really. The moment you go into ultimate analysis, the self is not really there in the ultimate sense. But it does exist as a mere appearance. So on this mere appearance, then things are operating. That's it. Beyond that, on the objective level, nothing is operating. But things are operating where? Just on the mere level of the appearance. On that level, then everything is operating. That's it. Likewise, the receiver of the gift, receiver of your benefit, even that is like illusion. This act of giving is also like illusion. With this awareness, then you accumulate merit. The Buddha in this sutra very clearly indicated that the merit that you accumulate is going to be 1,000,000 times more than the merit of just giving. Right? So the one act of generosity, any one act of the virtue, if that is done with the awareness of a little bit of experience or emptiness, the merit that you accumulate is going to be like 1,000,000 times more. Okay, so therefore the study of emptiness is so important, so important. Okay. Yes.
Miten näen illuusion kaltaisena ne 3 juttua?
How can I see those 3 things as illusion-like?
Okay. One, as I said earlier, say there's the self. Illusion. First we have to understand what illusion is. Illusion is where we see, for example, let's say an illusory flower. There's no flower there, and then a magician created a flower in front of you. Oh, there's a flower. How come there's a flower there? I have no flower in my room, in the house. And then there's a flower there. You see the flower, magically the illusory flower as a real flower. It appears as a flower, but it's not a flower. It appears as a flower. Appearance as a flower, in reality, it's not flower. So, appearance and the reality, there's a gap. When there's a gap in appearance and reality, it is known as illusion. This is known as dream. This is known as mirage. Gap between the appearance, how it appears, and what's the reality. Appearance was so real, and the reality is not real. There's a gap. So when you see the gap, this is described as illusion. Likewise, there's a gap between me, how this person appears, and how this person really exists. Appears as so solidly there, so well defined there, and in reality, it's not findable. You just see the 6 elements. That's it. Beyond the 6 elements, within the 6 elements, you will never find the person at all. So the person appears as real as a person, but when you go into ultimate analysis, the reality, final reality, we see that it's not really there, like illusion. So this is how we, and for more detailed studies, we have to study the text very seriously. Particularly, I would encourage the study of the Acharya Chandrakirti's text. Acharya Chandrakirti's text. And next year, hopefully, we are also doing the Bodhisattva Shantideva's text, chapter 9, wisdom chapter in France. Cultural Center, we are thinking of doing that there. So, if you are really interested on emptiness, and if there's a possibility for you to join, you can also join. Yeah. Okay, you have to study. Yes. Okay. So we have another 7 or 8 minutes. What shall we do? What shall we do? We'll continue, or we will wait for question answers.
It's up to you.
Continue to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, if possible.
Okay.
We can have a little break and continue until 3 o'clock, if possible.
Okay, very good. Then we'll have a little break now. Okay, those of you who have your other obligations, feel free to leave, and others you can do another 1 hour. Yeah. Okay. 10 minutes gap.
Yes, 10 minutes gap.
10 minutes now. Yes. Okay, Maria. Welcome.
Hope to see you.
Okay, Maria, just wait. This is from Bodh Gaya.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah.